Wake Up Radio presents The Center with your host, DC Radical One.
Greetings, friends, family, allies, and enemies. I am your host, DC Radical One, and you have entered the center. Shout out to our wonderful producer, Cindy Ashby. You can check us out on SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes, Podcast, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify. Before they straight black pride, the brother Elijah. Before the brother you got ripped off. That's the only people I see in the comments. So I see more eyes than I hear voices, I guess you could say. So as I wait for other people to come in, today's discussion, man, we're going to talk about some of the various conflicts and situations that are happening on the African continent. We'll look at the Congo a little bit. We'll look at possible conflagration between Ethiopia and Eritrea. We will look at the Sudan conflict. And I just realized that I left out the situation in Mali where they captured the spy there from France. So see if I can find that article, because I see that I don't have that up. I did want to mention it as well. Before they straight black pride, the brother pro-black and plant-based. Hey brother, I'm still waiting for you to purchase that God is Black Woman lecture. I don't know if you forgot or not. So let me know if you're still interested in it. So yeah, that's what tonight's discussion is about. We're gonna talk about the Trump deal, quote unquote, or so-called peace deal, which we know is just a mineral rights deal in disguise. And then tomorrow we will have Sister Niger will be co-hosting SBL Talk. It's going to be centered around an essay she wrote about a woman's worth. So she and I will be doing that. Peace and blessings to our brother Crow tomorrow at 6. And the goal is Sunday to have another panel of sisters. I got to reach out to Sister Asha. And I know she's doing something tonight. She's doing her program tonight. I believe it's 7:00. So I had to get with her tomorrow, see if she's available for Sunday. If she's available for Sunday, and Sister Najee is available for Sunday. And if I can get one or two other sisters along with a facility, then we'll be a go. And that'll be the last show of Black August. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank. Y'all gotta forgive me, distracted. Just saw a sister walking by and she caught my attention, and she wasn't doing anything. She was just being her Black self. So yeah, she distracted me. I'm not even gonna lie. Doesn't happen much anymore, but we still street and Black and proud over here. So when a sister of a certain level, appearance level, walks by with natural hair, we do tend to pay attention, right? So y'all forgive me for that moment of distraction. So that's what we have coming up. We got tonight's show, we got Thursday and possibly Sunday, and that will close out Black August. And I'll see what September looks like. I did, my goal was to ramp up ramp up the amount of live streams and the amount of, I don't want to use programming. That's not the word I want to use, but the amount of content, I guess is the word that I want to put out for this month. I think as far as putting out the content, that's been successful. And I'll say this as well, as far as super chats and things like that, that's been successful. So it's more definitely been more time consuming. It's been taking more work, but it has been more. It's been in some ways more successful. So I guess I should be thankful for that. I'll try to let more people know that we're on, and somehow there's like people that I'm trying to reach that I just don't see on my list of people. It's one of those things. I probably shouldn't be trying to do multiple things at once, but I am. I do it. I ain't doing it successfully, but I'm doing it. So, all right. So, here's the reality of the situation on the continent, and as far as I can see it, right? It's a very surface level. Unfortunately, I can't get as deep into this discussion as I would like to, because I haven't taken the time to do as thorough research as I need to. That's nobody's fault but my own. From what I can see at a surface level, we still very much have multiple conflicts based around ethnic battles, resources, but a lot of it is based in manipulation from outside forces, right? And we'll see some of that today. We got some video documentation, we got some articles, and so I'm gonna try to get this done in about 2 hours. This will probably, in all reality, be a part 1, and it may be a part 2 later. But as much as we are excited about the AES, about Mali, about Niger, about Burkina Faso, about what they're doing militarily, what they're doing as far as providing security for the people, but what they're doing as far as control of their resources, what they're doing as far as taking steps towards sovereignty, right? In all reality, banning homophilia, all those things are fantastic. And you're starting to see other countries in the region kind of lean in that direction. You see Chad kind of looking in that direction. You see it's another country with a young leader looking in that direction. But you know, the AES, they're still growing, they're still working things out as a confederation, as well as as individual countries, right? As I told you, I went to the embassy of Niger and Mali and talked to them, and so they gave us a brief understanding of the situation as far as the confederation steps that they're taking as individual nations to improve their situation, and you know what it would take to type of steps it would take to if you're looking to repatriate to one of these countries, and things like that. So I just say this, I've said this before, as I look at the landscape of America, and I try not to take my individual experiences and conflate them with the experiences of Black people in America. But when I look at what I see here in Washington, D.C., and what I see as far as the data and statistics that I see, and the economic outlook of America itself, and looking to the future, and also looking at the people who are actually in charge and what they have said their plans are for America. It doesn't look good, right? So if it doesn't look good, if where you're at doesn't look good, then of course that means you need to start looking at other places. So I'm gonna start off with this BBC article. Not a big fan of the BBC, but that's the source we have right now. And it says how Trump wants the U.S. to cash in on the mineral-rich DR Congo's peace deal. And I just think it's interesting. We have this young man wearing a modified USA shirt, and it says this is from about a month ago. Was it? No, 2 months ago. Yeah, a month ago. Exactly a month ago, basically. It says the Trump administration is spearheading an ambitious but controversial peace initiative aimed at ending the long-running conflict in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo that has also drawn in neighboring Rwanda. Its mediation efforts come as no surprise as DR Congo, a nation in the heart of Africa, a nation that is indeed the heart of Africa, is endowed with the mineral wealth that the U.S. requires to power the IT and now AI revolutions, much of which is currently going to China. U.S. President Donald Trump is expected to host the leaders of DR Congo and Rwanda, Felix Tshisekedi and Paul Kagame, in the coming weeks to seal a peace agreement that is hailed as a glorious triumph, hoping to back it up with deals that would boost U.S. investment in the region. When they say investment, we know that means neocolonialism, right? We've talked about our book, not our book, but the book, Confessions of an Economic Hitman, books 1 and 2. So we know how this goes, right? Why the Congolese leadership has been amenable to this, I have no idea. And just be completely honest, why they want to seek other African nations to broker their peace deal, I have no idea. Why they wouldn't look to the Brinks situation or go to the AES, or even directly to the Russian Federation, I have no idea. You know what I'm saying? I don't know why they would do that, right? Now, again, this is the same United States that has been, and we know this for a fact, this is the same United States that ordered and was in coordination with Belgium and I believe France to assassinate Patrice Lumumba and to put in Mobutu Sese Seko over the Congo, and he proceeded to enrich himself, to just rob the country blind and open it up for exploitation by foreign powers. So if I know this history, right, and I've talked about it multiple times, I've talked about Mobutu, I've talked about Lumumba, I put it in my Hidden Enemies lecture. So we talked about this stuff. So why would you, as a leader of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, make a deal with one of the governments that destroyed your nation? Because the nation was destroyed, right? And it's never been what it could have been because of the assassination of Patrice Lumumba by the CIA, the Belgian security forces, and I believe the French were involved as well. And even if they weren't, I'm just going to throw them in there because they've been involved in so much shenanigans on the continent, right? So why would you make a deal with the American government? Guys, this level of treason that I just can't wrap my arms around. Can't wrap my mind around this level of treachery. You're literally spitting in the grave of Patrice Lumumba by making a mineral rights deal with his enemy. And the enemies of your people, the enemies of the nation, with the people who assassinated him, the people that gave the go ahead, the people that gave the guns to Mobutu. I just don't understand it. I don't understand this level of cowardice. I don't understand this level of treachery. I don't understand, sure, somebody getting paid or this or that. I just, like if you, bro, you got ripped off, say somebody getting paid or the guy Epstein blackmail on him. Unless you out here, unless you out here doing something unsavory with youth. Hey man, if you just cheating on your wife, don't sell out your race. Yeah, I'm not saying you should be cheating on your wife. I'm saying you shouldn't be cheating on your wife. That way they can't put leverage over on you, but don't sell out your race. But here we are. Let me get back to the article. It says that, let me find out where it was. It says US-based World Peace Foundation executive Professor Alex DeWall told the BBC that the Trump administration was promoting a new model of peacemaking, combining a populist performance for commercial deal making. I have no idea what that means. What does a populist perform? What does populism have to do with commercialism? If anybody has any understanding of that and they want to bring it to my attention, you got an article, essay, so you just know because of your experience and you want to drop a gem on me, put it in, either email it to me or DM it to me on Instagram, because the connection between populism and commercialism, I don't get it. Anyway, it says Trump has done this in Ukraine also. He wants to get the glory to boost his own political standing and to secure minerals that are in America's interest, Professor DeWall said. However, he noted that in DR Congo, China has already snapped up many of the minerals, so the U.S. is playing catch up. Let me stop right here. Why has China already snapped up many of the minerals? Why aren't the countries of Africa exchanging the minerals they need amongst each other? Why are we making deals with enemies? These are the questions that I'm going to be asking tonight. Do I have the answers? I really don't. Most of our leaders are traitors is really the answer. Right? But why they're traitors, I don't really know. I don't understand the love for Yoruba. I don't understand our slavish devotion to our enemies. I don't understand how people who are cowards are put in a position to rule over the people and of a sovereign nation. When that happens for us, right, which it has happened, right? In fact, that's been our history that they've tried to do for 100 years, going back to Garvey's time. And that's just one of the time I'm thinking. Okay, we're not a sovereign nation. We don't have land, resources, so military, all of that. So if you say, well, DC, they do the same thing to black people in America, I say, yeah, that's true. They do. They tried to put cowards and traitors over us. And but we've always had organic leaderships stand up and tell us the truth and try to lead us in the right direction. Now, have we always followed that leadership? No, we had that discussion earlier, but at least we've had that. I'm not saying that they don't have that on the continent, or saying Congo or the other various countries. I'm not saying they don't. I'm saying we don't get to hear from them, right? So we don't know they exist until something like the Kenyan revolution happens, and then you see the young people. Then you're like, okay, well, somebody realizes what's going on, and somebody has decided that they want to do something different. So that's all I'm saying. I'm saying not even corrupt, cowardly, corrupt, weak, feckless leadership on the continent is what allows a lot of the shenanigans to take place. And it is so disheartening to see. But in this day and time, I can make the argument that Black America is in the same situation. The Congressional Black Caucus, because it's dead and stinking, it's absolutely useless. And has no, it just serves no purpose. They're more for immigrants' rights and LGBT and all this stuff. I haven't seen them talk about anything Black in years, right? So they're completely useless. Entertainers, completely useless. A lot of these so-called Pan-Africanists are just homophiles, completely useless. Y'all give me anybody else y'all got there would be considered leaders in the Black community. And I'm going to bet that they're going to be, at least for our cause of liberation, be completely useless. BB48 to Sister Najee. So I understand the situation. It's very frustrating to me to see it on the continent, because you see what real Black leadership can do. You see what Ibrahim Traore can do. You see what Assimi Goïta can do. You see what Rahman Chiani can do, right? You see what real leadership can do. You see the difference that it can make. You see how they can improve their country, how you can seize your natural resources, how you can kick out your enemy, how you can bring forth a new day, right? A new line of thinking, a new line of acting. And you can take your enemy's language and say, this is not the official language no more. Get this out of here, get this language out of here. The next thing would be, hey, get this religion with this European on here, get this out of here. Throw that away, right? Throw that in the garbage. That's the next thing, right? Then implementation of native indigenous languages. You see what I'm saying? And so forth and so on. Let's improve ourselves as far as our infrastructure. Let's improve our roads. Let's improve electricity. Let's provide electricity for the majority of the populace. Let's improve water and health care. And let's grow our own food, right? Let's up our military technology. You know what I'm saying? Let's move into the nuclear age for nuclear energy, and so forth and so on. You see these things taking place amongst the nations of the AES, with Captain Traore taking the lead and spearheading this African revival that's taking place, right? This African Renaissance, this African revolution that's taking place on the continent. You see him spearheading it. You see him spearheading it with Mr. Goïta. You see him spearheading it with Mr. Abdurrahman Chiani, right? You see them making these moves, and you see France and other forces making moves to try to thwart them, because the reality of the situation is that everybody on earth is scared of real Black leadership and real Black manhood. Because when real Black manhood shows up, we know that things are serious, and some things are going to get done, and they're going to get done, as Malcolm X told us, by any means necessary. So with that, let me get back to the article, because I have surely digressed and gone off on a tangent. But let me get back to the article. It says No, okay. No, he said that up to now, U.S. companies have been cautious about investing in DR Congo because of safety concerns and the moral hazard of dealing in so-called blood minerals financing rebellions. But this could change as the Trump administration implemented its peace model, which is, I guess we'll see. Professor DeWall said that this could also happen in other conflict-hit states like Sudan, where the Trump administration, along with Arab nations such as Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Egypt, was expected to get involved in mediation efforts after previous initiatives failed. He added that the Trump administration's peace model could not be dismissed out of hand. Okay, if you say so. He added that the Trump administration, dismissed out of hand, especially if it stops fighting that has killed thousands of people and displaced millions of others in conflicts that have raged for more than 30 years in the Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo. Trump can get the different sides to talk and shake things up, Professor DeWall said. But Professor Henri Mostert, an academic on mineral law at the University of Cape Town, South Africa, told the BBC that the DR Congo risks compromising sovereignty over its minerals. Exactly what I am saying. That's exactly what I am saying. DR Congo could find itself locked into deals for years in exchange for vague guarantees of security, she said. This was reminiscent of the resource bartering deals pursued by China and Russia in numerous African states, Professor Mostert added. She cited as an example Angola, where China built infrastructure in exchange for oil. Even when oil prices went up, Angola couldn't get more value out of it, Professor Mostert said. The U.S. State Department said in 2023 that the DR Congo has an estimated 25 trillion in mineral resources. I'm going to stop right there. And in order for us to understand how much 25 trillion is in resources, 25 trillion would pay off 2/3 of America's record debt. America's debt is $38 trillion, which I believe is the largest debt any nation in the history of planet Earth. And they estimate that the Congo by itself, not all of Africa, just the Congo by itself, has enough mineral resources to erase 2/3 of America's record debt, which means that if the Congo was able to utilize and protect its own resources, right, that the Congo would be the richest nation on earth, and Africa would be the most powerful continent. Brother, that thing is like a credit card. The debt is so much, and it's so large, and the interest rates are what they are, man. That thing keeps running, so it's seemingly it's going up like it feels like it's going up half a trillion every week. That's what it feels like. So that's a massive amount of mineral wealth, and it's probably an underestimation, even though I know that they've used satellite imagery and they've looked underneath the ground to see what's there and everything else, and it's still probably an underestimation, because as new technologies come on, they start looking for things that are more rare, and most of the time you find those things that are more rare on the African continent. So, brother, let me tell you something. No, that is the real debt. But when China and these BRICS countries, they start dumping the dollar and they stop buying the U.S. debt, that's when you're gonna see an explosion of inflation like you've seen in third world countries, and then that's when people are gonna start jumping out of windows. So that time is coming. So when I tell people, if you can save up your money to repatriate, or if you can come up with a business idea. I think I gave my timeline yesterday. From 20, and I'm not saying things are great now, but I'm saying like from 2020, I believe 2027 to 2032, I believe it's going to be some rough times here in the United States of America. Not just for Black people, but for people in general. And if you've really been paying attention on some of the YouTube and Instagram channels, there are a lot of Europeans here that are already saying that times are rough. So I'm saying they can get worse, which is kind of scary from where I'm standing. But so we know that Africa has the youngest population. We know that it's the only place where population is growing. They have the most natural resources. I mean, literally, Africa is the future, if there is a future, right? So again, that 25 trillion just in minerals is phenomenal. So let's see, where was I? It says, oh, wait a minute, hold up. I think I'm going too far. So this includes cobalt, copper, lithium, manganese, and tantalum, which I don't even know what that is. Tantalum? Anyone want to help me out? Excuse my ignorance. I've never heard of that mineral. These things are needed to make the electronic components used in computers, electric vehicles, mobile phones, military hardware. So if you have something that's connected to military hardware, first of all, you should be using that to boost your own military practice. It's insane for an African nation to have something that is needed for military power, and they're not utilizing it for their own to build their own military infrastructure. It's completely insane. It says now, for how long will DR Congo have to give its cobalt to U.S. investors? Will it be 20 years or 50 years? What is the price for peace? I mean, these are all excellent questions. It says DR Congo government spokesman Patrick Muyaya confirmed to the BBC's Newsday program in March that his country wanted to supply the U.S. with some critical minerals in exchange for a security deal. I just don't get it. I mean, I understand being willing to exchange some minerals on a low level, but the type of deal that it sounds like they signed or are signing, it just doesn't sound right, doesn't feel right, doesn't look right. It just looks like a bad idea all the way around. I mean, y'all let me know, am I overreacting? Is there some way that something good can come out of this? Or is this just more of the same, where Africans turn over their sovereignty to their enemy in hopes of security, and all you get is exploited and destroyed? Because that's all I see. So y'all let me know, right? And then let me try to close out this article. It says that the DR Congo, the M23 rebel group launched a major offensive earlier this year, seizing huge areas of eastern DR Congo and smuggling minerals across the border to Rwanda, UN experts said earlier this month. In a report earlier this month, the minerals were then mixed with Rwandan production, and their subsequent export to downstream actors reached unprecedented levels. Rwanda denies the accusations that it backs M23, even though M23 takes the stuff directly to them. Right? And it says that the UN has provided evidence. Your phone, a rare metal in the war in Congo, is an article, I guess, dealing with the situation. It says, Said in what appears to be an attempt to address the issue of mineral smuggling, the U.S. brokered peace deal between DR Congo and Rwanda provides for a still to be negotiated regional economic integration framework between the two rival states. This would ensure illicit economic pathways are blocked and mutually beneficial partnerships and investment opportunities created for greater prosperity, especially for the region's population. We're getting in the United States a lot of mineral rights from the Congo as part of it, Trump said, ahead of the peace deal signed by representatives of the two governments on June 27th in Washington, D.C. A DR Congo researcher with the South African-based Institute of Security Studies think tank, Bram Verelst, told the BBC that the U.S. initiative was running in tandem with another one being led by Qatar, a close U.S. ally. So once again, the Europeans and the Arabs are joining forces to exploit Africans. Where have we seen this before? Oh, yeah, the combining of the two slave trades. And the secret broker that was behind that was the hats. So, if I had to guess, somewhere there's a hat hidden in this equation. Mr. Burrell said the U.S. focused mainly on the regional dimension, while Carter's was on domestic issues between DR Congo's government and the M23 rebel group that set up its own administration in the east after capturing the regional capital of Goma. Professor Jason Stearns, a Canada-based political scientist who specializes in the region, told the BBC that Qatar, like other oil-rich Gulf states, was expanding into Africa to project power and influence, but also to seek economic opportunities. Let me stop right here real quick. And places like Qatar that don't even have a strong military, that aren't even, they got money, but they're not. How do you allow a country like that's nothing militarily to come over and exploit and dictate to you? That's what I don't understand. Like, you should just be, Congo should be like a gorilla swatting a fly, like, but instead you bowing down to these people and capitulating and compromising with these people. It just, man, it makes me just want to throw up. Greetings to I Can Fire. Right, that's what I was saying. Right, that it wasn't just the Arabs. It was the Arabs, the Jews, and the Europeans. Like we don't never, when we talk about enslavement, you can't talk about enslavement of black people over the last 1,500 years or so without talking about Jewish involvement, right? We got the documentation on that. Anybody wants to challenge it, we can debate it. Says that the brother said, there goes today's monetization. Hey, it's what it is. Brother, you got ripped off, says he's giving us the information on tantalum. Says a very hard, ductile, lustrous blue-white transition metal that is highly corrosive resistant, which was used as components of strong, high melting point alloys. And the major use of tantalum as the metal powder is in the production of electronic components, mainly capacitors and some high-powered resistors. And he also says African rebel group that has Israel weaponry means Israel's armament group for Israel's agenda. So you're saying M23 has Israeli weapons? Okay, yeah, because that Dan what's his name, Gertzer, I talked about before. Y'all know who I'm talking about. I'm butchering his name because I can't remember it exactly, but he has stolen massive amounts of wealth, from the region, and he is incredibly wealthy. Like, he's a billionaire, actually multiple times over. So I haven't looked into his connections to the Israeli government or Mossad, but I would have no doubt that it's there. And brother, I Can Fire or sister, because I don't actually know if it's a brother or sister, but they're saying that Congo could have sold minerals for weapons from China. Again, that's that's what I'm saying. Like, if you're going to utilize your resources, utilize it to finance your growth in firepower, and there is no sovereignty without military strength. As much as we talk about economics, yes, economics is important, but we have to understand that in today's environment, we're dealing with international gangsterism, as Dr. John Henry Clark said. Basically, it's about who can just physically take what they want. And if they can swindle it out of you, they'll do that. But if not, they're just going to take it. And if you can't stop them from taking it, or you can't take what you want from them, you're just going to get dominated. And it's been like that. And why people don't want to accept that reality, right? Like, if you go to jail and they say, you know what I'm saying, it's going to be a riot and you need your shank, you need to go get your shank. I don't know if they still do the old thing, because I guess they don't make telephone books no more. People used to use telephone books or whatever. It's like armor or whatever. But whatever you got to get whatever you got. Whatever weaponry and defense mechanism you can get, you got to get them. That's the same way here. And brother, you got ripped off, says a retired South African general stated that M23 rebels in Eastern Congo are using advanced weapons and equipment similar to those used by Israeli military. Yeah, I saw that, brother. Yeah, my bad. Let me put that up. Yeah, I saw that. And I forgot to mention, but I'll mention it here. I didn't expect this whole article to take 45 minutes of time, but that's on me. Like I said, this will be part one of probably a multi-show report. I went to an event in DC maybe 2 weeks ago, a week ago. Sister Niger, if you're still in here, let me know how long ago that was. It seemed like it's nearly 2 weeks ago, and they were talking about the Congo, and I didn't stay for the whole thing. I should have, because I was late. They showed a film and they were talking about Congo situation, and they showed some of the weaponry and things that the people had. And about 2 weeks ago. Thank you, sister. I know people are tired of, people in these regions, they're tired of war and things like that, and I get it. And you're fighting against relatives, and all types of stuff is going on. And maybe in the midst of war, it's hard to improve your military capabilities and your war capabilities. But I don't really think so, because I've watched Russia go into the Ukraine, and they thought they were just going to walk in there and do what they do. And then they realized, oh, wait a minute, we're going about this totally wrong. They got new technology and weapons that we haven't seen used before. Let's go back to the drawing board. Let's upgrade our technology. Let's call some of our friends to get some advice on how to use some of these tools. And then once they did that, and they came with a new strategy, after the first few months, they just been slowly grinding Ukraine in the dust. Now, I'm not saying the Congo is Russia, because Russia has arguably the second best military on earth. I understand that. My point being is that you should have the capacity to get better at this fighting thing, right? And you should have the ability to use your mineral resources in order to upgrade your fighting capability. That's all I'm saying. That is literally all I'm saying. But it takes a certain type of leadership to be able to do that. And it's obvious that that leadership hasn't existed since the death of Patrice Lumumba. right? And Sister Najee says room was free. Man, when I look back in that back section, all I saw was Urugu. You know, I don't even know what are they going, how are they going to help? Like, what are you there for? So that's one of the reasons why I left. And I'm not going to lie, man, it's too many Urugu. We're talking about what should be family business. And don't even get me started. Every time I've gone to events, especially in Northwest, like if it's an event in Northwest, I'm talking about for years. This is an event in Northwest that's dealing with the continent, right? When they were talking about, I think at this event I went to like 10 years ago, and they was talking about, was it Lumumba? I can't. No, they were trying to get Blaise Compaoré, and it was about Thomas Sankara, and they had Sankara's brother there. That's what it was. This is about 12 years ago. And his sister supposed to meet us up there, and me and two other brothers, we went up there. We went up there together. The sister lived in Northwest, so she came from where she lived, and it was so many Urugu there. She called me and was like, "You sure this the right event?" And I'm like, "What you talking about?" She's like, "Sure, there's a lot of Urugu up here." And I'm like, "Really?" We went up there, man. So I'm not gonna lie. When I see these events where it's talking about the continent, if it's in Northwest, I'm already looking for the door before I even get in there, because I just know, right? But I digress. That's the local scene here, man, in DC. Like, I don't know, where y'all from, if y'all have those same type of issues where we can't discuss family business without Urugu showing up, and forget showing up, being invited. So, oh my bad. Let me get back to this. Let me close this article out. It says that he explained that the U.S. and Qatar are working closely together, but it has less ideal to have two processes because you don't want to end up in a situation where there's a peace deal between DR Congo and Rwanda, but Rwanda then says we don't control the M23, which is exactly what they would say. And then the M23 continues escalating the conflict. So it's very important that the two processes are tightly tied to each other, since the actors are so closely linked. Also, I missed this part. It says that Qatar has massive economic interests in Rwanda, pointing out that the Gulf state was building a new multi-billion-dollar airport in Kigali and was in talks to acquire a 49% stake in the national airline. So in this situation, we got to look at Qatar, and I have to look at the Gulf states more closely, because there's something not right with the whole Gulf state situation. There's something fishy with their existence and their money and their resources. Like, I can't explain it, but something doesn't add up with the existence of these countries and how rich they are. And you're like, yeah, they got oil. I know they got oil, but that's all they got. They don't have people, right? So it's just something isn't right. I don't know what it is. I have not researched it. Do I need to research it? Do I need to go into it? Yes. Have I done it? No. Do I have the time right now? Not really. But I need to. And I'll be honest, this is why Black people in America need think tanks, because we need to know what's going on around the world. Like, this idea of being American in reality blinds us to the reality of what's going on in other places, because we get so locked in to what's going on here. And if you have a president like Trump, what's going to be going on here is chaos every single day, right? And you'll be blind to what's going on, and you'll miss one, opportunities, and two, you'll miss signs of the destruction of the nation that you're in, because you're so busy you can't see the forest for the proverbial trees. Now, it says that a ceasefire was expected to take effect on Tuesday, followed by DR Congo government M23 signed a comprehensive peace agreement by August 18th, which would have been a little over a week ago. In this case, I'm going to stop this article because what I want to do, go to this other article from AP. It says what? Trump claims to have ended the war in Congo. People in the Congo are like, that's a lie. It says former members of the armed forces of the Democratic Republic of Congo and police officers who allegedly surrendered the M23 rebels in Congo. So this is from yesterday, right? Updated yesterday. It says U.S. President Donald Trump claims that the war in Eastern Congo is among those he has stopped after brokering a peace deal between the Congo and Rwanda in June. But residents, conflict researchers, and others say that is false. Trump on Monday repeated the claims that he ended the decades-long conflict, describing Congo as the darkest, deepest part of Africa. Man, this dude is such an ignoramus. It's, it's hard not to laugh sometimes. For 35 years, it was a vicious war. 9 million people were killed with machetes. I stopped it. I got it stopped and saved lots of lives. Trump asserted. What's scary is he actually believes that. I mean, he can't even stop mass shootings here in America, but he talking about he stopped the conflict in the Congo. Anyway, the Associated Press previously fact-checked Trump's claim and found a war far from it. Now, residents report clashes in several hotspots, often between the Rwanda-based M23 rebels who seized key cities early this year and militia fighting alongside the Congolese forces. A final peace deal between Congo and the rebels, facilitated by Qatar, appears to have stalled. Each side has accused the other of violating peace terms. Here's what people had to say about Trump's latest claim. An inspector says that people are still being displaced. The local human rights inspector in South Kivu province, Kabare territory, Saruza Mushinzi Liadane, said residents in the communities of Bigope, Sarunga, Kagami, and Bushwara continue to flee clashes between M23 and the Wazalendo militia. The problem now is that we do not have humanitarian assistance. Hospitals operate during the day, and health professionals, I keep wanting to say health officials for something, find refuge elsewhere at night to escape insecurity. Amnesty International says clashes were reported this week. Christian Rumi with Amnesty International said the rights group learned of clashes during the past 24 hours in various locations. It is far from the reality to say that he has ended the war, he said of Trump. The U.S. president is misguided in his assessment because the people on the ground continue to experience grave human rights violations, and some of these amount to crimes against humanity. A student says fighting has continued. Amani Safari, a student in Goma, the city first seized by M23 and most affected by the fighting, said nothing has changed since the peace deal was signed in June. Unfortunately, when you look at this agreement, there are no binding sanctions against the two countries that violated. The United States only sees American interests. This person knows what's going on. An activist says Trump needs to do more. Espoir Muhenuka. Man, y'all gotta excuse me for butchering these people's names. An activist in Goma said there's no sign of war will end soon and urged Trump to take steps to achieve permanent ceasefire, the peace deal provided for. If this does not happen, it would deceive all of humanity. And deceiving all of humanity is kind of what a certain group of people do. Says civil society leader says residents are losing hope for peace. The president of Civil Society of North Kivu Province, John Ayine, said he and other residents are losing hope for permanent peace. The killings, the displacement of the population, the clashes continue. Therefore, we're still very much in disarray. We as a civil society encourage this dialogue, but it drags on. Analysts say peace efforts appear to have stalled. Christian Molika, a Congo-based political analyst, said the peace deal brokered by Trump initially helped to facilitate the peace process, but Congo and M23 missed a deadline to sign the final peace deal. For a conflict that combines the complexities of the structural weakness of the Congolese state, local identity and land conflicts, and the fallout of crises in neighboring countries, Trump's approach may appear as a truce rather than a definitive statement, Mr. Molika said. So, what we can conclude from this, excuse me. Yeah, thank you, brother. I see where we're at. What we can conclude from this is that nothing has really changed, and the reality of the situation is that if Black people on anywhere on earth want to have peace, justice, or security, they're gonna have to unite with other Black people to get it done. That's it, and that's all. I don't know why we refuse to accept this reality, but this is the reality. And I'm gonna just be honest: the countries surrounding Rwanda, they need to really look at Rwanda as an enemy state, right? Rwanda is like a rogue state on the continent. They've done a lot of despicable things. Paul Kagame has been personally accused of a lot of despicable things. You don't trust that dude no farther than I control. Right? But I'm not over there, so people over there, they may have a different view. I just say it like that. Brother said he don't mind the persecution. Well, there's not a persecution, there's a genocide. The reason I mind the genocide of Palestine, brother, and I understand what you're saying, it's very simple. That genocide is being lied. And I tell people all the time, that's practice for the world genocide that's going to be taking place. And there are no people who are easily more ready to be exterminated than Black people in America. And again, Israel controls America. So Israel's simply practicing there to do what they're going to do here to Black people in America. I'm telling you what I know, not what I think. Right? Because remember, a genocide was televised in New Orleans and nobody did nothing about it. Right? Now genocides are being live streamed in Palestine and nobody's doing nothing about it. You think they won't come back here and expand the New Orleans thing using different methodologies? And if they do, who can do something about it? That's a question I've asked Black people, and all I've received is religious belief as the answer. But what if the Most High don't pick up the phone that day? It's a wrap. See, I have to constantly remind Black people how close to being wiped out they are. Because we think it's a joke or it's a game. But let's be realistic. How is it possible for them to have stabilized our percentage of the population since integration? And they're actually overcounting because they're counting half Black people. Right? So actually our population is actually lower than what they're saying. If they're not counting, they're counting people who are partially Black. And we have our women sitting around saying publicly that they want to abort male babies. Right? We still have people shooting each other. Black people shooting each other in Chicago, DC, Baltimore, so forth, so on. We're going to economically, our wealth will be at zero by 2050, which is only 25 years from now. We have massive effects of heart disease from taking the jab. Would y'all like me to continue discussing how we're on the road to being wiped completely off of the map in America. All of this while America itself is collapsing in on itself. Right? So, do I have problems with Arabs? Absolutely. But am I going to cheer on a genocide done by the most lethal, most sadistic, the most barbaric, the most demonic government on the face of the earth? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. For me, it's like my football team that I root for. If they need a team that I don't like to win in order for us to get to the playoffs, then I'm just going to root for that team so we can get to the playoffs. We'll deal with that team when we get to the playoffs. In this day and age, in the 21st century, the playoffs is survival. Because the Hats plan for this to be the final conflict in which they rule and dominate everyone on earth. Slavery to genocide. That's their goal. And they said it publicly. I mean, they sit around and talk about it every day. You're finding stuff on the internet where they're debating how many slaves they're going to each have. This is what the Hats say. And they've bamboozled the so-called Christian Zionists to believe that they need the Hats to have a war with certain countries in order to bring about Armageddon, so white Jesus can come back. And the Hats are encouraging it because they know that they can utilize them psychologically to help destroy their enemies and then destroy America in the process. Because the reason that you're $38 trillion in debt is because you've been giving money over to Israel and you've been fighting these endless wars against all of Israel's enemies while the infrastructure here in America is literally falling apart. But the European American is too stupid to see that he's been played for a fool by his cousin who hates his guts. Because as far as he's concerned, a goy is a goy is a goy. So with that, brothers and sisters, I am going to play the Lost Tapes advertisement. Again, I'm still looking for that one sister to buy one lecture for the Lost Tapes before Black August goes out. I have faith in you all that you're going to do it. But times are ticking. And it looks kind of bad. That's all I'm going to say. So with that, I'm going to play this Lost Tapes commercial, and then I'll be back after that.
Now, we're going to go and talk about APAC. What is APAC? The American Israel Public Affairs Committee, APAC. What does APAC do? APAC is the gangster with a whole lot of money that says, I'm going to buy you and pay you money, and you're going to make decisions that I want you to make. You're going to do as I tell you, because I got my hands in your pockets. And they attached to people like Jeffrey Epstein, who take videos of the people that are supposed to be our representatives, and as they take those videos, they hold them hostage and say, vote as I tell you to vote. Do as I tell you to do.
I didn't even, the concept. I saw Naeem Akbar talking that black talk he gave, and I was out there telling everybody, yo, this dude gay. You remember back in the 90s, he was hating me. I was like, this dude gay, man, we can't do this. You can't be up there talking black and be gay too. I was like, okay, he out the way, no, we're not doing this. I'm saying this because I did not imagine a time, little old me from Southeast, where if they tell us to take a jab, stick ourselves, I'm gonna be the only one that wanna say something. Maybe the brother out Whitaker, brother Darren, we got a few brothers, but I'm talking about like, I'm thinking whatever they tell us to do, we got black people who studied under these people, we gonna say no. Or we gonna at least wanna investigate. I'm thinking it'll always be that way. I'm thinking if somebody's pushing this stuff, R. Kelly molesting children, we're gonna deal with this dude. I'm thinking everybody's gonna agree with that, because you don't mess with children.
That's right.
That's what I thought was, that's just how I thought we were. That is who we are intrinsically, but I'm saying, I didn't imagine a world where I'm saying, don't vote for this dude. It's a trick. Come on, y'all. He's a mulatto who didn't grow up around black people. He a gay dude. He gonna push homosexuality. Y'all can't see this? I'm telling y'all before he get in office, what are you talking about? And people who are the hardest nosed people in African nationalism, the hard ones, looking at me, nah, you can't do that, dude. Y'all don't see this? I'm actually the only one that's gonna say, yo, you don't see. And then when he gets in and does what I say he does, okay, I saw. You messed up the first time. Okay, I saw. I'm thinking, okay, but now he going back for office. He done already made gay marriage legal. Mm-hmm. All right, now you get it. The dude, I told you he was a punk, he was a gump in the beginning. Mm-hmm. I still couldn't conceive. No, dude, if you're looking for somebody else to do it, you ain't studied the lessons of history. When you're passionate and pulled to do something and can't stop, it's a message being given to you. Ain't nobody coming. You gotta believe in yourself, because somebody decided that you was supposed to do something. So you can't turn it off and stop looking for people. You just gotta do what you do. We looked in the past, 1972. I was born in 1973. I'm almost 50 years old. I'm 50 in December. A year before I got here, they must have known I was coming. They said, let's get this thing out here now before you get here. They did what's called a Gay Rights Platform in 1972. This is just official document, sharing information. If you go look that up online for yourself. They're making it difficult to find. I don't know if people have been noticing this, but things that you used to get easily go and put it on the internet and find them, you can't find this stuff no more. There's a bunch of stuff you can't find. But I'm gonna bring your attention to just one. It's a bunch of stuff, all of it's aimed at children. Sex education with children, adoption, gay adoption of children. But there's one that's most important for what we're talking about today. And they break it down from the federal level and the state level. On the state level, they say every single state, they want laws repealing all laws governing the age of sexual consent. I'm gonna say that again. They want the repeal of all laws governing the age of sexual consent. Meaning a newborn baby, they want it to be legal to have sexual contact with a newborn baby. What year did I say? 1972. That's 51 years ago. Fast forward 21 years from then to 1993. In the interest of producing that result, they had right downtown, 30 minutes, not even 30 minutes if there's no traffic, go right up here, East Capitol, go all the way up the road, you run right into it. They had the 1993 Gay Rights March on Washington. Let's see what that was about.
Check one.
Did y'all hear what they just said? Do I need to play that again? He said, don't play it again. He said, no, thank you. All right, I want to do this again. They said, we're young, we're queer. We're going to do what? We're going to rule the world. Now remember, 21 years before that, what did they say that they wanted for children?
repeal all laws governing the age of sexual consent. They want to have sex with children and make it totally legalized. 21 years after they said that, they said, we're young, we're queer, we're going to rule the world. That was in 93. This is 30 years after that. So they've had 30 years to say we're queer, we're going to rule the world, which at that point they said, we haven't gotten to the point where we rule the world, because if they did, they wouldn't be saying that. They would say, we're young, we're queer, and we rule the world. They didn't say that. We're young, we're queer, we're going to rule the world and have it our way.
Commercial. You can purchase the Lost Tapes if you simply send me an email and about which one you want and send Cash App for the purchase. $25 for a single video, $100 for the entire set. So you get a good deal with that. Now let's get on. Oh, by the way, I'm your host, DC Radical One. You can follow me on Instagram at DC.Radical1, on Twitter at DC_Radical_ONE, OTW2 at DC Radical 1. You can donate via Cash App, $DC Radical 1. And of course, you can email me at DC.Radical_1 at protonmail.com. Now, I spent more time on the Congo situation than I thought that I would, but we're going to move on to another situation on the continent, and it looks like we may only get to two. I want to talk about the Sudan war situation there, and because it's what's taking place is devastating. And this, not enough people have talked about it. When we talk about the genocide taking place, you can make an argument that there's genocide taking place in the Sudan. And the thing that's crazy about the Sudan situation is that the Sudan already had wars going on for years, and the country separated itself from the South Sudan, from the North Sudan. The South Sudanese are pure jet black African people. The Northern Sudanese are more of a mixed type people who identify mostly as Arab. And now you have, in that region, you have a conflict between two groups there, right? I talked about this and now it seems like it was 2 years ago with the different factions and everything. And it's hard to really comprehend, because the two sides fighting were literally at one time allies, and I think they're part of the same military infrastructure. So again, it's just one thing that black people constantly seem to do is find a way to fight amongst each other. And this is no different. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna play this clip where they break down as much as they can in 5-minute period the root of this war and what's really going on. So we're gonna take a look at that, and then we're gonna get into a couple of articles, and it's possible that we may end up there. I'll have to see. I do want to get into one other situation that is flaring up, so we're gonna check out this clip real quick.
On April 15, 2023, heavy gunfire and explosions rocked the capital Khartoum, throwing the city into panic. The Sudan Armed Forces, or SAF, led by the country's de facto ruler, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, and the paramilitary group Rapid Support Forces, or RSF, led by Burhan's deputy turned rival, General Mohamed Hamdan Dagalo, known as Hemeti, blamed each other for firing the first shot. Once allies, the two generals ousted Sudan's long-term oppressive military leader, General Omar al-Bashir, in 2019. A transitional government was put in place, but overthrown in October 2021. Al-Burhan was then made de facto leader, with Hemeti as his deputy. Within months, there was tension between the two generals, which they sought to downplay.
احنا مستحيل يحصل بيناتنا قتال اصلا ولا في زول بيدعو لحاجه ولا في زول بيدعو لاي خلاف.
But disagree they did. Their vicious power struggle led to the war in April 2023. In August 2024, a UN fact-finding mission had a damning report on the crimes committed in this war.
We have found that the Sudanese warring parties, that mainly the Sudanese Armed Forces, SAF, and the Rapid Support Forces, RSF, and their respected allies, have committed an appalling range of violations. We found reasonable grounds to believe that many of these violations amount to international crimes.
Fighting between the army and RSF has killed thousands, driven over 10 million people from their homes, and sparked what the United Nations has called the world's worst hunger crisis. Famine has been declared in the Darfur region, and over half the country's population face acute hunger.
أسأل إيال أيانين دارين علاج والعلاجات ذاتها ما في البيوت زي الناس ما في أكل زي الناس ما في ناس قاعدين تعبانين أسأل بنتي.
In August 2024, there was a ray of hope as aid convoys were allowed to enter Sudan after a 4-month halt. They crossed from Chad, delivering desperately needed food to the people of Darfur. The weather has also played a part, with extreme floods across Sudan in August 2024. Key infrastructure such as dams and bridges was severely damaged, hampering aid and leaving hundreds displaced. A few weeks after the war started, peace talks were held in the Saudi city of Jeddah. Many more followed, with several ceasefire agreements reached, but they failed to stop the fighting. In August 2024, US-led talks started in Switzerland, but the Sudanese army refused to turn up. Also at play are the foreign nations allegedly backing both sides, supplying equipment and arms.
Some observers believe that the Sudanese armed forces are backed by Turkey, Egypt, and more recently there's been evidence to suggest that Tehran has been sending weapon shipments to Port Sudan. On the other side, the Rapid Support Forces are believed to be backed by the United Arab Emirates.
The RSF captured much of the capital Khartoum and 4 of the 5 states in Darfur. The military controls most of the north and east, including the key Red Sea port of Port Sudan. In February 2024, the army recaptured the center of Omdurman, one of the 3 cities along the River Nile that form Sudan's wider capital, Khartoum. When protesters helped oust Omar al-Bashir, the people of Sudan thought tyranny was over, and the dream of civilians being in charge felt tantalizingly close. Then came a war, far worse than anyone could have imagined.
So, let me know y'all can hear me, by the way. So that is a breakdown of how we got to this point. I can't think of anything but greed and a lust for power and as the root cause of this confusion, and the fact that these people can't come to any type of agreement, and that they would allow this to destroy the nation and destroy the people. It's really maddening to think about, because as y'all saw in the clip, like literally they sat up there and said, oh no agreement, disagreement can happen, and we're on the same team, we got the same goals, so forth and so on, and yet here we are. So it's what's going on, man. It's just, it's heartbreaking, it's disheartening, it's disgusting, it's disturbing, and I don't even know what else to say. So I'm just going to get into this article, and I don't know if I can play the clip in the article. Y'all probably won't be able to hear it, but I'm just going to read it. It says, the women at the community kitchen at the besieged Sudanese city of Al Fasher are sitting in huddles of desperation. It says, our children are dying before our eyes, one of them tells the BBC. We don't know what to do. They are innocent. They have nothing to do with the army or its paramilitary rival, the Rapid Support Forces. Our suffering is worse than what you can imagine. Food is so scarce in El Fasher that prices have soared to the point where money that used to cover a week's worth of meals can now only buy one. International aid organizations have condemned the calculated use of starvation as a weapon of war. The hunger crisis is compounded by a surge of cholera sweeping through the squalid camps of those displaced by the fighting. The medical charity Doctors Without Borders on Thursday said Sudan is experiencing the worst cholera epidemic the country has seen in years, fueled by the ongoing civil war. There have been nearly 100,000 cases and 2,470 deaths over the past year, it said, with the current epicenter near Al Fasher. The BBC has obtained rare footage of people still trapped in the city, sent to us by a local activist and filmed by a freelance cameraman. The Sudanese army has been battling the RSF for more than 2 years after their commanders jointly staged a coup and then fell out. Al Fasher is in the western Darfur region, one of the most brutal front lines in the conflict. As you see the babies there, which says maybe their only meal of the day. The paramilitaries tightened their 14-month blockade after losing control of the capital Khartoum earlier this year, and stepped up their battle for Al Fasher, the last foothold of the armed forces in Darfur. The fighting escalated this week into one of the most intense RSF attacks on the city yet. In the north and center of the country, where the army wrestled back territory from the RSF, food and medical aid have begun to make a dent in civilian suffering. But the situation is desperate in the conflict zones of western and southern Sudan. At the Makba Al-Khair communal kitchen in Al Fasher late last month, volunteers turned ambas, which I'm not even sure what that is, into a porridge. This is the residue of peanuts after the oil has been extracted, normally fed to animals. Goodness. Sometimes it's possible to find sorghum or millet But on the day of filming, the kitchen manager says there is no flour or bread. Now we've reached the point of eating impasse. May God relieve us of this calamity. There's nothing left in the market to buy. The UN has amplified its appeal for humanitarian pause to allow food convoys into the city, with its Sudan envoy Sheldon yet once more demanding this week that the warring sides observe their obligations under international law. Now, let me say this. From my understanding, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, the Sudan is a Muslim country. And they're appealing to Muslim countries to mediate their situation. But if you're a Muslim country, how can you allow your fellow Muslims to starve? That's what I don't get. So did they cease fire during Ramadan, or did they continue fighting during Ramadan? Are they bombing each other while people are going to prayers and making salat? Right? Are they doing their zakat, their charity for the people that are starving? You see what I'm saying? See, my whole thing is, if you're gonna do this, you're gonna practice these religions. Why aren't you practicing them to the best of your ability? Why aren't they ever used for the benefit of the people? We imitate our enemies and their practice of the religion, where they use it to destroy us. We don't use it for our benefit to uplift ourselves. But again, I digress. Let me get back to the article. It says that Army is giving clearance for trucks to proceed, but the UN is still waiting for official word from the paramilitary group. RSF and the truce would be used to facilitate the delivery of food and ammunition to the Army's besieged militias inside El Paso. So they don't want to allow food in because they think the food is going to be given to the military. And who knows, right? I have no idea whether that's correct or not, but it's against humanitarian, it's inhumane, right? When you know people are starving. The RSF has issued a statement denying widespread allegations that it was targeting civilians in El Fasher, claiming the local armed group in the city were using civilians as human shields. For residents of the city, the battle is to remain alive during bombardments and scrounge for food when they can. Local responders can receive emergency cash via digital banking system, but it does not go very far because the prices have exploded. Says Matilda Vu, advocacy manager for Norwegian Refugee Council. So we got people from all the way from Norway trying to send money. It says today $5,000 covers one meal for 1,500 people in a single day. 3 months ago, that same amount could feed that same number of people for a week. So you can feed 1,500 people for a week for $5,000, but now you can only feed them for one day. So that means that prices have gone up 86%. Doctors say people are dying of malnutrition. It's impossible to know how many. One report quoting a regional health official put the number at more than 60 per week, which is would be 8 to 9 people per day. Hospitals cannot cope. Few are still operating. They have been damaged by shelling and are short of medical supplies to help both the starving and the injured in the continual bombardment. We have many malnourished children admitted in hospital, but unfortunately there is no single sachet of therapeutic food, says Dr. Ibrahim Abdullah Qadir, a pediatrician at the Al Saudi Hospital, noting that the 5 severely malnourished children currently in the ward also have medical complications. He says they're just waiting for their death. When hunger crises hit, those who usually die first are the most vulnerable. The least healthy are those who have pre-existing medical conditions. The situation, it is so miserable, it is so catastrophic, the doctor tells us in a voice message. The children of Al Fasher are dying on a daily basis due to lack of food, lack of medicine, Unfortunately, the international community is just watching. So, like I said before, if someone wants to commit a genocide against black people, in this case, black people fighting each other, is allowing the genocide to take, or causing the genocide to take place, right? And the international community, in fact, forget doing anything. How many people who didn't watch my show before, right, know about this conflict? If you know about this conflict from a source other than myself, put a 1 in the chat. And then you can tell me where you learned about the conflict if you didn't learn about it here. Because again, I covered it, I guess about 2 years ago now. Let me get back to the article. It says international non-governmental organizations working in Sudan issued an urgent statement this week declaring that sustained attacks, obstruction of aid, and targeting of critical infrastructure demonstrate a deliberate strategy to break the civilian population through hunger, fear, and exhaustion. They said that anecdotal reports of recent food hoarding for military use add to the suffering of civilians. Says there's no safe passage out the city, with roads blocked and those attempting to flee facing attack, taxation at checkpoints, community-based discrimination, and death. Hundreds of thousands of people did flee in recent months, many from the Zamzam displaced persons camp at the edge of Al-Fasher, seized by the RSF in April. Though they arrived in Tawila, a town 60 kilometers or 37 miles west of the city, weak and dehydrated, with accounts of violence and extortion along the road. Life is safer in crowded camps, but they are stalked by disease, most deadly of all, cholera, caused by polluted water. Outbreak is triggered by the destruction of water infrastructure, lack of food and medical care, and made worse by flooding during the rainy season. It is caused by polluted water and killed hundreds in Sudan. Oh, my bad. I just read that. My apologies. Unlike Al-Fasher and Tawila, aid workers at least have access, but their supplies are limited, says John Joseph Ochebe, the on-spot project coordinator for a non-governmental organization called the Alliance for International Medical Action, ALIMA. We have shortages in terms of washing facilities, in terms of medical supplies to be able to deal with this situation. We're mobilizing resources to see how we can best respond. MSF project coordinator Sylvain Penichal estimates that there are only 3 liters of water per person per day in the camps, which he says is way below the basic need, and forces people to get water from contaminated sources. Zubaydah Ismail Ishak is lying in the tent clinic. She is 7 months pregnant, gaunt and exhausted. Her story is a tale of trauma told by many. She tells us she used to trade when she had a little money before fleeing Al-Fasher. Her husband was captured by armed men on the road to Tawila. Her daughter has a head injury. Zubaydah and her mother came down with cholera shortly after arriving at camp. He said, "We drink water without boiling it. We have no one to get us water. Since coming here, I have nothing left." Back in Al-Fasher, we hear appeals for help from the women clustered in the soup kitchen. Any kind of help. We're exhausted. We want this siege lifted, says Faiza Akbar Muhammad. Even if they airdrop food, airdrop anything, we're completely exhausted. And here we have a map showing who controls what. The southeast of Sudan, near Eritrea and Ethiopia, ironically enough, is controlled by the army and governmental forces and allied groups. Then you have other armed groups, and I guess various just armed groups in control of certain parts in the south region. And then to the southwest, you have the RSF and their aligned forces. And I don't know what that means as far as this map, because you have a large region to the north that just is painted white. And I guess that's just up for grabs. Like, I don't know what's going on. with that. So I wanted to get to this other article, and it talks about, hey, what in the world? My bad. And what is this? PBS just jumped up and said, hey, we need some money. Hey, guess what, PBS? I need some money as well. So maybe you can get Mr. Trump to send you some money, and then y'all can send me some money. How about that? But it says Sudan accuses UAE of funding mercenaries to fight alongside the RSF in civil war. This from 3 weeks ago. It says the foreign ministry said in a statement Monday that Sudanese government has irrefutable evidence confirming mercenaries from Colombia and some neighboring African countries were sponsored and financed by Emirati authorities. The statement didn't share the evidence or name the neighboring countries. So Sudan has accused the UAE, United Arab Emirates, of sending Colombian mercenaries to fight alongside the paramilitary rapid support forces against the country's military during the civil war. This unprecedented phenomenon poses a serious threat to peace and security in the region and across the continent. Let me stop right here. If you were at some of Brother Irritated Jenny's event in 2024, or if you have the lost tapes, he talks about a genocide process that it's going to be taking place. I can't remember what he says, but basically the monetization of genocide. And this is exactly what we're seeing here with Colombians being imported to fight a war, and they're starving the people. This is exactly what the brother was talking about taking place. And he talked about it a year ago. It's here immediately, right? So when I tell you all, like, man, you need to get the lost tapes. I'm not just trying to sell you a product. I'm trying to tell you that he's talking about things then before they happen that now are happening, and that's the only place where he talked about it, other than in personal conversation. I don't know that he spoke about it anywhere else, because he don't have a lot of outlets where he can speak about certain things, right? But this is the type of thing where you're going to see more and more. We see it in Haiti, where they get the Kenyans to go to Haiti to kill the Haitians, right? In this case, they get Colombians to go to Sudan to kill Sudanese. So you'll see these rich countries that will sit around and pay mercenaries or pay groups of men or gangs or whoever to go to another country and commit genocide against those people, while hiding their hand and denying that they have anything to do with it, right? Now, let me just get back to this article. It says that the UAE emphasizes that these claims are merely attempts to derail the peace process and evade the moral, legal, and humanitarian obligations to end the conflict and pave the way for a transitional process that reflects the aspirations of the Sudanese people for security, stability, and development. See, is what I said. The UAE is going to claim that they do not do this, but we know they do it. I have absolutely no doubt. And they have an article here claiming that Egypt is providing free train rides for Sudanese refugees returning home. There's no home to return to, so how does that benefit anybody? What are we talking about right now? Anyway, it says the civil war in Sudan erupted in April 2023 in Khartoum before spreading across the country following simmering tensions between the RSF and the army. The fighting has killed over 40,000 people, displaced as many as 12 million, and pushed many to the brink of famine. Sudan has accused the UAE of being involved in the war by supporting the RSF with weapons, but the Gulf country has denied the claim, In November, the Amnesty International report said armored vehicles manufactured by the UAE and equipped with French defense systems had been captured by the Sudanese military. A spokesperson for the Emirati government said that at the time that the UAE was the target of a coordinated disinformation campaign aimed at undermining our foreign policy, regional role, and humanitarian efforts. You have no regional role. You're not even a real country. Like, what are we talking about right now? Sudan's army and the RSF both have been accused of committing atrocities like ethnic cleansing, extrajudicial killings, and sexual violence against civilians, including children. Oh my goodness. So that's the situation in the Sudan as it currently stands. And here we talk about this is old too. Talk about the RSF secret financial network. And again, it goes back to now hold up, I didn't know this. Wait a minute, let me go back here. Let me read this article. Okay. I'm just gonna read this section because I didn't know where this guy came from. It says in April 2019, Sudan's social and political upheaval resulted in the removal of President Omar al-Bashir, been there as long as I can remember, after nearly 30 years of power. Sudan has now entered a new period where civilians share power with the Sudanese military in the ruling Sovereign Council. A militia named the Rapid Support Forces, or RSF, is the most powerful paramilitary force in Sudan. At the head of the RSF and vice chair of the Sovereignty Council stands a man named Mohammed Hameti Hamdan Daglo. Hamedi, my bad, first rose to prominence in 2003 as one of the leaders of the Janjaweed, a paramilitary force deployed in Darfur which killed, they say scores, I would say hundreds of civilians. More recently, numerous witnesses accused Hameti, RSF, and Sudanese police of massacring pro-democracy demonstrators at a sit-in in Khartoum on June 3rd, 2019, with human rights reporters reporting over 100 killed. These killings fit a pattern of human rights abuses committed by the RSF and their predecessor, the Janjaweed, in Sudan's western region of Darfur. So this guy was part of that group that I think they were receiving funding at that time from Muammar Gaddafi. And they were committing atrocities in Darfur. And so now this same guy pops up and he's part of this RSF. So that explains something. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know about the government forces as far as the guy leading them, right? I'm not saying he's a good guy, but this guy has a history. He's definitely not a good guy, right? He's definitely a problem. He's been committing atrocities for decades. And now if he was part of that group that was receiving funding from Gaddafi, then the question is, who is he receiving money from now, besides the UAE? And who's been paying to keep him in place to be able to attempt to take power and destabilize the country? That's the biggest question, is who's the hidden hand behind this guy, right? Because he seems to be at the root of all of the confusion. Now, I got one more article and I'm trying to close out right about 8. But this is not about a war that has taken place, but about a war that could take place. And I'm just going to go to the article real quick. It says why Ethiopia's Tigray could be on the brink of another conflict. It says fears of instability rise again as the TPLF and the federal government appear to be gearing up for a showdown. It says an eerily familiar set of headlines is making the rounds in Ethiopia, troubling many in the fragile northern Tigray region. Successive delegations of civil society and religious leaders have in recent weeks traveled to the Tigrayan capital of Mekelle for dialogue, but some is reminded of the events that played out in the final weeks before Tigray descended into war in November 2020. That war left 600,000 people dead and 5 million displaced. I didn't know it was that bad. I heard about it, but I didn't know it was this bad. It brought global attention to Ethiopia's fractured politics and tarnished the reputation of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, who had won a Nobel Peace Prize for mending long-severed ties with neighboring Eritrea. Let me tell you something real quick. Let me pause. Do not, and here's the bad part. It's almost impossible to tell from the outside. Do not call Eritrean Ethiopian or vice versa. Or they're gonna look at you and they're gonna look at you like, what you say? I met a brother, like I know there's a lot of Ethiopians in this area. But I remember one time I met a brother and I looked at him and I was like, excuse me, brother, where are you from? And he said Eritrea. I was like, oh, okay. I started to say Ethiopia. He looked at me, he's like, yeah, I know, but not from Eritrea. And then we started chopping up. We became cool, but he let me know, he's like, yeah, man, the tensions between our two countries they're real. Like we're not. Here's what's crazy. The countries are right beside each other. The people are definitely one people. And yet the tensions are very real. So what I'm gonna do, because for me to try to explain what's going on would be impossible, I'm just gonna play this clip where they break down the tensions and what could possibly happen in the future, the way things are looking.
Years ago, the Horn of Africa was on fire, both in a metaphorical sense and also a literal one. As forces loyal to the government of Ethiopia marched through the northern Tigray region, they set farms and crops alight, part of a deliberate policy to starve the area into submission. In the ensuing famine, a famine never officially declared, hundreds of thousands of civilians are thought to have died. Nor did the horror stop at Tigray's borders. When Tigrayan forces invaded neighboring Amhara and Afar regions, they conducted their own massacres. Soldiers from the nation of Eritrea rampaged through cities, looting and by the time a ceasefire was declared in late 2022, it's estimated that somewhere in the region of 600,000 had died. If confirmed, that toll would make it the deadliest conflict humanity had seen since the Second Congo War ended in 2003. Yet for all its atrocities, the Tigray War passed most of the world by, a blood-soaked ship passing silently in the night. Kicking off during the pandemic and drawing to a close the same year Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine, it was simply too distant, too complicated to draw attention. All of which may explain the lack of alarm in the media right now, the lack of urgent warnings that one of the worst wars seen in generations may be about to restart. Now, certainly all of the pieces are in place. Tigray is divided and militarized. Ethiopia's federal forces and the Eritrean defense forces are moving equipment towards their borders while loudly declaring that they're absolutely not doing that. On the 3rd of July, Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed gave a speech where he demanded religious leaders to try to stop renewed fighting, telling them, immediately start your work now to prevent Tigray from entering conflict. It will be worthless to speak after it begins. As one anonymous Tigrayan author wrote in the New Humanitarian, quote, everyone is reminded of 2020 in the months before the last war broke out, and everyone is afraid that another war is looming. The twist is that this time, those who previously fought together may now be on opposing sides. While Ethiopia and Eritrea joined forces to invade Tigray in 2020, in 2025 the fear is that a war between Addis Ababa and Asmara would spill over into the shattered region, triggering a whole new conflagration. Or as experts Alex Dewal and Mulugeta Gabriel Atberha recently warned in Foreign Affairs, quote, if fighting breaks out between Ethiopia and Eritrea, Tigray will again be the main battleground with potentially catastrophic consequences. Now, to understand how a region that declared a ceasefire in late 2022 has so quickly returned to the brink, well, we need to understand how multiple local crises have managed to entwine. some driven by the aftermath of the last Tigray War, others with deeper roots. Among the deepest is the enmity between Ethiopia and Eritrea. Once an unwilling part of Ethiopia, Eritrea gained independence in 1993 following a long and bitter war. Importantly for today's story, that independence saw Eritrea take with it Ethiopia's coastline and access to the Red Sea, turning Ethiopia into the world's most populous landlocked country. Under Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, Addis Ababa has vowed to get its sea access back. Now, if you follow our regular Situation Room series, you may remember that this vow briefly looked like it would cause a war between Ethiopia and Somalia. That's because the initial plan saw Addis Ababa sign a memorandum with the breakaway Republic of Somaliland offering it recognition in exchange for a port. But this outraged the federal government of Somalia, and following mediation by Turkey, Abiy eventually backed down. Although he did not abandon his desire to secure a port. And that last part is key, because absent a war with Somalia, there are basically two places through which Ethiopia can get to the coast: Djibouti, where Addis Ababa already leases a port, and Eritrea. The worry is that Abiy may have already decided the Eritrean port of Assab is the perfect target. Not only does it sit a mere 60 kilometers from the Ethiopian border in a remote region where the Eritrean state has little power, but there's even a vague historical justification. One of the conditions of Eritrean independence was that Addis Ababa would retain access to the port of Assab. But this was rescinded when the two states went to war over their borders in 1998. Although the fighting only lasted until 2000, Ethiopia refused to accept the decisions of a post-war boundary commission, so Eritrea refused to return access to the port. And that's how things stayed until 2018, when the newly ascendant Abiy Ahmed struck a deal with Eritrea's longtime dictator, Isaias Afwerki, to thaw relations. That deal was supposed to implement the Boundary Commission findings and give Ethiopia port access, and was considered such a breakthrough in this frozen conflict that it earned Abiy the Nobel Peace Prize. All of which is so supremely ironic given what happened in 2020. Having settled their differences, Addis Ababa and Asmara joined forces to invade the region of Tigray in northern Ethiopia, kicking off one of the most apocalyptic wars fought in decades. To fully explain why everyone was so eager to invade Tigray, well, that would require a deep lesson on Ethiopia's history and federal structure, and take so long that this video would run at almost triple its length.
So that gave us some background on what could possibly take place. And I'm going to be completely honest. Of all of the wars, conflicts, and possible wars that we have discussed tonight, the Ethiopian conflict, before they wrote Jirake, is the one that's the Ethiopian Eritrean one is the one that's most confounding to me, because Eritrea's history as a sovereign state is just mired in confusion. Like it's been part of Ethiopia. It's been colonized by Italy. It appears that the modern borders are those that were carved out by Italy. So, and the enmity between Eritrea and Ethiopia is just one that I would need one Ethiopian and one Eritrean with knowledge of the history to sit down in front of me and tell me. I don't think there's any other way I can understand it. Because when I look at them, I see the same people. You know what I mean? Completely honest. I see the same people. Right? But I mean, somebody could have looked at us in the 90s and saw the Crips and Bloods thing and been like, I don't know what's going on, but these are the same people. And they live around the corner from each other. So one thing that we have seen tonight, during tonight's program, is that regardless of where Black people are, we find a way to divide ourselves and fight amongst each other. And other people have, without question, utilized that to their benefit. Right? So I think with that, brothers and sisters, I'm gonna get ready to close out. I just wanted to make you all aware of these conflicts and these situations that are going on the continent. Y'all let me know if you found this information valuable, and tell me if you were able, had you seen anyone else covering these things. Now, I'm sure there are some people on the continent that are covering them, but as far as anyone in America, let me know if there's anyone covering these things. And also, let me say quickly that the Ask DC program is still active. Like, if you have a question that you want to ask and you want me to make a YouTube, you think it's in-depth enough question that I can make a YouTube video about it, either email me or DM me on Instagram, and I'll do that. I've only done like 3 Ask DC episodes, so I'm open. Brother, you got ripped off said. Okay, brother, Roger Rocket. Yeah, we're you can watch the playback, and you can leave your comments there. I greatly appreciate you interacting with the live stream, even if you don't get to see it from the beginning. But yeah, so y'all let me know, is anybody else doing this, and if you find value in it. And I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna admit this. As far as the things that are going on with Black people in America right now, for me, to me, it's like wash, rinse, repeat. And no one is willing to organize to do anything. So that's why I don't really talk about them. I don't really see a lot of things of significance going on for that Black people are doing. And so that's why I don't talk about them. Like, there's a racist incident that takes place. I mean, we know the answer to that. I don't know why we act like we don't. Deacons for Defense, Black Panther Party for Self-Defense, Robert F. Williams, NFAC, New Black Panther Party, Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad. You know what I'm saying? Cosmo September. What's our other brother in Dallas? I mean, they showed us how to deal with those situations when they get out of hand. I don't know what Mike Xavier Johnson, right? I don't know what people want me to say. Mark Essex, I don't know what people want me to say to that. People send me stuff and I'm just like, okay. Christopher Dorner, right? What you want me to say, or what you are you making me aware of it? You want me to do something? Like I don't know. Like, people don't elaborate on what they want from me. They want me to let my voice to it. What do you need from me? Because people with bigger platforms, people who have more than the almost 10,000 people that I have on Instagram, have talked about it. Like, they'll send me the stuff. This person's talked about it already. So, you want me to know? I know. I've lived through American racism for 4+ decades. There was times I wasn't living in America, so I know. But hey, we gonna do something or we not? And nothing. If we doing something and it's not organized, it doesn't matter. It's not gonna accomplish anything. You know what I'm saying? I hate to sound like that, but I'm just being real. This is as authentic as I can get. But we're not willing to organize to do anything. And the people who have the capacity to fund organization aren't willing to organize to do anything. Then nothing will get done. Right? I mean, I don't know what else to say. Brother KW Don says we're way too reactionary. Oh, yes. Absolutely. And you can tell that we're ruled by emotionalism. And the drain of manhood is what leads to the emotionalism and the being reactionary. Just being completely honest, which puts you in a place where you're set up for genocide, right? And to be honest, and I'm going to say this and then get ready to close out, but one of the thing that our women really are upset about is in their subconscious mind. And that's why when they say what they're upset about, it doesn't make sense, because it's in their subconscious mind and they're not aware enough to know what they're really upset about. What they're really upset about is that we become a race of cowards. Yeah, they talk about money and this and that, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. It's really about we become a race of cowards. What they really want us to do is to knock some sense into some of our enemies. I'll put it that way. I almost said something else that would definitely get this thing demonetized. No need to wait to the last 5 seconds to do that. Right? So, the brother said a collective of individualists will get nothing done. Yeah, right. Right. So I'm gonna say this again. I'm your host, DC Radical One. This has been The Center. You can follow me on Instagram at DC.Radical1, on Twitter at DC_ONE_OTW2 at DC Radical One. You can donate via Cash App at $ DC Radical One. And you can email me at dc.radical_1 at protonmail.com. And if you would like to purchase the lost tapes, whether a single video or the entire set, email me at dc.radical_1 at protonmail.com. And I will, when I return the email, then you can send your payment. Each video is $25, $100 for the set. And I'm working on my own collection should be available in early September in whole. I'm actually sending pieces of it. Oh, not pieces, parts of it. As we speak, and editing the other parts. So that, brothers and sisters, I thank you all for listening. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also, we will be on tomorrow at 6 p.m. for SBL Talk. We will have our sister Najee. She'll be co-hosting with us, and she has provided the subject matter for tomorrow's show as well. So be sure to come through for that. And, tell your friends. If you got any friends that are interested, I see our numbers are kind of low. I don't know if that's because of the time of day we're on. The subject matter, I don't know. And y'all let me know what y'all think. And, you have any ideas for how to improve the show and how to improve our viewership. Let me know. You can email me or you can DM me on Instagram. So with that, brothers and sisters, I say a BB Fodier and straight black pride. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also follow us on our other social media platforms. On Instagram, we're at dc.radical1. On Twitter, we're at dc_radical_ONE. And the Cash App is $ DC Radical 1. Again, thank you for subscribing. A BB for Odie and straight black pride.